Hello, fellow travelers. Welcome back to the Pelari Presents South Africa podcast, which is a podcast that follows my tour of South Africa as a local, and it particularly focuses on cultural heritage tourism in the country. In today's episode, we are still in the Ehlanzeni region of Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun, or the place where the sun rises. One thing I realized about Mpumalanga is that it has potholes. So we're talking about driving, right? So a safety measure that I want to make you guys aware of and that I want you guys to consider when you're planning a trip to Mpumalanga is to consider the potholes. These potholes, wow, I have never seen such massive potholes in my life. Really, guys, I do not want to lie. It looks like meteorites struck, at these potholes. That's how big they are. Potholes that are so massive, some of them are in the middle of the road. So it's quite dangerous. It can be quite dangerous driving through these roads. So be careful as you're driving through Mpumalanga. And where I encountered the potholes, it wasn't on the long term pass. The long term pass is well maintained, very smooth. I think it's really the government is really trying to make that one of the popular attractions of the province. So it's very well maintained. Um, but I encountered potholes in Leidenburg, the town. Actually, in Leidenburg, it seems as if they were renovating the roads all over the town, right? So there was a lot of construction happening on the roads. The roads were not smooth, they were very bumpy. Some lane lines were not visible. So be careful when you're driving through the Leidenburg area. Another place where I encountered potholes was between Leidenburg and Dalstroom and Belfast, and the N4 highway. So I was so happy when I joined the highway. I have never been so happy to join the highway before because there's nothing to see on the highway. It's just a long stretch of road and you're driving on the outskirts of town. You're not driving past towns. So highways are not a thing that I want to be on. But whoa, when I got onto the N4, I rejoiced. I literally rejoiced because driving through those potholes was terrifying. And at the time that I was driving, I literally was running against time because the sun was setting and here I am, I'm driving through these massive potholes. Here they are reckless drivers behind me. I almost got into an accident because there was this massive pothole on the side of the road that it even got into the middle of the lane that I was driving in. And so I was trying to swerve this pothole. And so there was this driver who decided to overtake me at that time. Um, but luckily I didn't get into an accident. So be careful when you're driving through Mpumalanga, not only because of the potholes, also because of reckless drivers. I mean, who wants to race past potholes? That is a person that does not care about their car at all because potholes are dangerous. They can really punch your car or do some kind of damage to your car. So, yeah, I cannot stress enough how you should be careful when you're driving through Mpumalanga because, yeah, those potholes, yeah, I would rather you drive to Mpumalanga via Limpopo than drive straight from Gauteng to Mpumalanga because of those potholes. I don't want to see such potholes ever again in my life. Another safety measure that I wanted to make you guys aware of is crime. Um, I had never seen Mpumalanga was just this province that, well, the beauty was breathtaking, but then what surprised me was the crime. The I had never seen so many road signs in one highway that alerted people about crime. I'm like, crime on the highway? What? On the highway? I mean, the highway is usually those places where people are zooming past, right? They're racing past. It's not a place where people are still, but I had seen so many road signs, and not far apart from one another, that alerted people or drivers about the high crime rate, that the significant one being hijacking. So do be careful when you're driving through Mpumalanga. Um, put measures in place, like have your roadside assistance on standby, or teach yourself how to change a tire. you know um just be careful when you're driving through Mpumalanga, because it's I did not know this before, but I'm quickly learning that it seems to be an another province in the country that has very high crime rates. And this was even more magnified by um, Hillary Gadi's case. Uh, and this is where I touch on gender based violence, because Hillary Gadi was a young woman who was basically executed, right? Because the way she was killed, she was murdered execution style. So she's this young woman who was murdered earlier in the year, actually around this time when I was that weekend, that long weekend when I was traveling through Leidenburg, the Long Tom Pass, um, is the weekend where Hillary Gadi was abducted and murdered. And actually, her body was found not far from Sabi. And Sabi is one of the roads that is one of the towns that the long term pass moves between. So that was traumatizing for me as a solo female traveler, to hear that not only has this woman been murdered, but she was murdered so close to where I was traveling. And so, if you're a solo traveler, especially a female solo traveler, do be careful, not only in Mpumalanga, but just in the country in general. Um, because there's this trend online of female solo travelers, which I admire, right? I wouldn't be trying to travel by myself if I didn't admire it. But I think one thing that is overlooked is the levels of crime in the country, or especially gender based violence. It's real, especially if you're a listener from another part of the world listening to this. Gender based violence, it's a real thing. It is a real thing, even though there are certain cases that have not been reported. They are happening. Every day a woman is being murdered. However, I'm not saying that if you're a traveler that you're bringing it to yourself, because women are being murdered in their homes or in front of their own homes. So, but I'm do stressing that do put measures in place. When you do come to South Africa, know where your nearest police station is. Know what insurance companies offer you roadside assistance. Um, know how to change a tire, so that if you do find yourself with a puncture, if you driving through those massive potholes, that instead of sitting and waiting for roadside assistance, at least you can try to be doing something about your car. So do be careful as female travelers, but I'm not going to discourage you from traveling solo as females, um because it's such a wonderful experience. I love it, I enjoy it. However, we have to be practical. So before you take a solo trip, do try to invite a friend. And then if all else fails, you can't find anybody, then go, knowing that you've tried everything to make sure that you are with a group of people in your travels, because they strengthen numbers, right? Even in the animal kingdom, the wildlife, um predators, prey on animals that are isolated from a group. And I think it's no different when it comes to human beings. It's quite easy to prey on someone who is alone than on somebody who's a part of a group. So try, and if all else fails, then take that solo trip, knowing that you put very strong measures in place to protect yourself. So that's it for today's episode. There was a lot to be said, especially when it comes to safety measures, because I do not just want to encourage you guys to travel and then not make you aware of the dangers that do exist in traveling, especially in traveling South Africa or traveling certain parts of the country. Yes, our country is beautiful, it has a lot to offer, but um, but it's not a utopia, right? It has an ugly side to it. It does have its shortcomings, and I want you to be aware of that, whether you are an international traveler or a local traveler. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Uh, until next time, keep good, make good choices, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye.